Do you mind me asking how old are you?
I'm in my 50s.
Mashallah, really?
Yes.
Boys, take notes. 50s, handsome, young and fit. Boarding schools are only for troubled kids.
Oh. Definite no.
No? Okay. Alright, boarding school has strict and harsh environment. Hello everybody, this is Aisha Sheikh. Welcome to my podcast Chai Shai with Aisha, powered by Proca Studio Dubai and EMGG Tech Services, your one-stop solution for all your printing, designing and digital marketing needs. So today we have our esteemed guest, Mr. Daniel here. Hello Mr. Daniel, the
Hello.
founder and head of Sesameed Education. First thing first, what is Sesameed?
Sesame.
How did you get that name, Sesameed?
When I first started the venture, I was thinking about what I really wanted to do with it. And what I really want is to show our next generation the type of opportunities that there are, especially in boarding education, American boarding education. And so an idea dawned on me thinking about Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. It's like
Okay.
open sesame. So that's where it came from, sesame.
Okay, Sesame.
Now, but at the same time, we wanted to create a whole new word. So sesame seems to be a very common
Common,
word, right?
yeah.
So I put an ED, kind of education, ED, to it. So it becomes Sesameed.
Sesameed. Okay, understood. That's how you got it. All right. So, Mr. Daniel, we've heard about you a lot, and your team has been really talking highly about you. We heard that you've got 22 years of experience in this field.
Yes. Yeah. When I first started, I had a lot more hair, a lot more black hair. Now, 22 years. 2001. So actually 23 years now.
23 years, mashallah. You know what's mashallah?
Uh-uh.
Okay, mashallah is like when you're praising something. So, you say mashallah. So it's in Arabic. So Arabic word it is. So yeah, by the
Mashallah.
time you leave this country, I think you will learn inshallah and mashallah. So when I'm going to be very happy and I really don't want evil eyes on you, then it will be like mashallah.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you have traveled all the way from Singapore today, but you're originally from
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. And then how did you shift to Singapore then?
Hong Kong's pace is quite fast. And maybe I should step back. When back in 2001, I started my first education venture that was in the name of Foundation Global Education.
Okay.
And the business grew, and thanks to the Lord, in 2018, we sold it, cashed out kind of. As part of the deal, I hang on for a few more years to train up the next tier of management leadership. So last year, I decided to step down and kind of do something that I really enjoy. Hong Kong has always been my home, but Hong Kong, as most people know, it's like New York. The pace is really fast.
Okay.
So for like older folks like me, Singapore seems to be a pretty good balance.
Okay.
It's not entirely in the countryside, but it's not as fast paced as Hong Kong. So, and there's a lot of sunshine. I love the sun, and I love biking. And so Singapore seems to be a very good balance.
Okay. You've been talking a lot about your age and older folks. Do you mind me asking how old are you?
I'm in my 50s.
Mashallah, really?
Yes.
Boys, take notes. 50s, handsome, young and fit. Okay, that's cool. All right. So, Mr. Daniel, I heard that you have really changed the lives of 1,000 plus families and you've secured good offers for 3,000 plus people. Is that true?
Over the years, from 2001 till now, yes.
Okay. Cool. Perfect. So, what has really inspired you to venture into this education sector, particularly focusing on American boarding schools?
I guess first and foremost, I'm most drawn to this venture in the fact that boarding education is one of the best thing ever for a teenager.
Okay.
For an adolescent, between being a child and an adult, this age range of especially 14 to 18 years old, this is really the time when we all grew up and establishing a sense of identity for ourselves. And boarding education puts that process, turbocharged it, so to speak. So it is really, in my humble opinion, one of the best educational experiences that a person can have. So, and I would love to share that with as many in the world as possible. And I see that as kind of my mission. I mean, you can make a living out of doing something that you love. So why not? So
Yes.
that's what it is.
You know, when you follow your passion, then you don't really find it hard. You know, when you're working 24/7, you feel still, I'm working for my passion. You know, you're still happy with that.
I mean, when you see the type of change that you can bring along to a young life, I mean, yeah, there have been like late nights, all-nighters, and all that. But when you look back, it's like, okay, it's worth it. It's worth it. I mean, there are some students who, if we didn't get to run into each other, if I didn't get to talk about boarding education to the parents, and the child wouldn't be able to go off to the schools, the boarding schools. And by now, he would likely still be in his original, I mean, not very famous schools,
Understood.
right? Maybe government schools that are more or less okay, right? But wouldn't be able to receive that type of life-changing education or impact experience that would accumulate down to the final outcome of studying at Harvard, Stanford, Yale. These things might not have happened. I mean, it might have happened, but it likely might not have happened if not because of that boarding school
Boarding
journey.
school. Okay. But why American boarding school? Like, why do you have that craze for that American boarding school? Does
Boarding
UK as well?
education, there are great boarding schools in many parts of the world. The best boarding schools, in my humble opinion, would be concentrated mostly in the States and in the UK, in England.
Okay.
And so when you ask that question, immediately I'm thinking about the differences between the top American boarding schools and the top British boarding schools and how they're different. And since we are speaking in Dubai, right? And Dubai has not a small following of families pursuing the British boarding school path, but very few people have heard of American boarding schools in this part of the world. And it is with that background that I very much would like to bring forth, introduce this concept of American boarding education over here. What are the differences? I would summarize it as two things. One, the British schools in general, not just boarding schools, they follow more or less a national curriculum.
Okay.
GCSEs, A-level, that sort of thing, whereby all the students under that system, they would study essentially the same type of curriculum, being taught in a very similar way, and they would take in the same examination.
Okay.
The good thing is it's very fair, but the bad thing, or the downside maybe, is that sometimes it can be a little bit too rigid. And the American system offers a lot more flexibility to cater for the needs of many different types of students. So that's one. And then another thing would be for the universities. Now, many students or many parents send their young ones to secondary schools. Ultimately, it's about university, right? Because we all think about, okay, where do they go for university, right? And if you look at how the British universities look at their incoming students, versus the American universities, look at the incoming students, it's very different. I mean, look at the admission process. The British universities, by and large, they would pay more attention or most attention to the academic outcome of their students. So meaning how many A's do you get versus how many B's, etc.
Okay.
It's all about academic subject, which you get from your national examination, A levels, for example, or IBs nowadays. But the American universities, especially the top American universities, they care for a lot more than just the grades. Now, of course, yes, if you don't have straight A's, don't bother, so to speak, right? But even if you get really good grades, well, they look at a host of other things. How well-rounded are you? Are you just interested in studying, or are you interested in a breadth of things? Right? They look at sports, they look at music, they look at performing arts, they look at contribution to the society through service.
Extracurricular activities.
Exactly. But not just the skills, though, because a lot of schools look at those extracurricular activities from the viewpoint of a skill. Do you know how to play piano? Or how well do you play your piano? That sort of thing. But the Americans look at it as how much you can do these activities in collaboration with your friends.
Okay.
It's about leadership development. So Americans, when they look at extracurricular activities, they tend to put more emphasis on group activities, on those extracurricular activities that are group-based, because that carries not just a good hobby, a good interest in and of itself, but also it will allow the student to develop interpersonal collaboration skills. And it is through these experiences of encounter that they will end up being able to polish their leadership skills.
Okay.
And in the eyes of the Americans, life success is not built upon just academic strengths. In order to be a leader down the road in the business world or in the government or in non-profit sector, your ability to handle people, your ability to harness the collective talents of your team members is just as important, sometimes even more important than how analytical you are or how well you can master your calculus or your physics. So because the universities from the two different systems, UK and US, they look at their incoming students so differently. So the high school difference, the high school experiences also differ greatly.
Okay.
So just with this in mind that I especially, I would want to promote, American boarding education, because I do believe life tends to be, it's not a simple one track, it's multi-tracked.
Okay, that's nice. So when did you exactly get this kind of thought? Like, okay, I have to now, because you had a shift of your career as well. So when did you exactly get this kind of thought that I have to now work into this thing? American boarding school is the next wow thing. So how did you get that kind of a thought? Something
Well,
must have triggered.
Yes. I myself, first of all, I had the blessing of running into American boarding education myself. My parents, when I was little, decided to send me to an American boarding school.
Oh, really? I wanted to ask you that question.
Yes, before university. So I was the only child among my siblings that had the luxury of attending an American boarding school. And it was life-changing. And so when I tell parents that this is really life-changing, I am not just telling them a concept. I'm telling them from my own personal experience and also from me witnessing the lives of my students, how they changed and evolved over the years. It is real. It is expensive, so not every family might be able to afford it. Sure, granted. But for those who can afford it, I would strongly encourage the parents to consider it. It is really a good thing for the children.
And how long were you there?
I was there grade 10, 11, and 12. So 3 years.
3 good years.
Yeah, 3 good years.
So did you miss your family that time?
I did miss them, but I was having so much fun at the school that, I really enjoy like seeing the world. And the friends there were amazing. And so I was not really homesick.
Okay, you're not homesick. Okay,
Yeah.
which is something very unusual otherwise. So that's
They
very
keep you
good.
really busy.
Yeah,
So
they do, with the
you don't have
activities.
time to think about, I'm away from my parents.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. All right, so we move on with the next question that we have here. So, what has been the most rewarding and challenging part of your journey in building Sesameed Education? Because the concept is definitely unique. So,
Yes. I would say Sesame Education was founded last year. All right. When I first started 20 odd years ago, it was my first company, which I eventually sold. So if you were to ask me what has been my most rewarding as well as most challenging times over this past year, I would tend to say that I finally am doing what I really love doing. I sold my first firm, so I had enough kind of financially, I'm okay. So enough to retire. So this is like my retirement pet project. And like some people retire, they will like travel around the world and, and maybe go to the beach to enjoy themselves. But essentially, they are doing what they love, right?
yeah.
So what I really love is education. So when I get my retirement time, so I start up a education company and really focus on doing education work.
Amazing.
This is what I really love. In that sense, this is really rewarding. And what I really want to do in this kind of part of my life right now is not just to do consulting as I did for the past 20 years, but more so I want to get involved more into teaching, because I'm an academic person. I'm not a like very social or anything. I love education. I love what I do. And love to talk about it. And so I want to be more into teaching, and I want to also spend more time doing something to give back to the boarding school world.
Okay.
So that's why we're having this conversation today, because we are launching our first American boarding school fair in Dubai.
In Dubai.
It is my hope that I may be able to do whatever little that I can to help spread the good news of boarding education to more parts of the world. And 2 years ago, we started off in Singapore. See, I'm just a consultant. I'm an educator. I'm not a fair organizer. So I do not know how to organize fairs. But I just had that idea. So let's try it, whatever it is.
So you are organizing this year. You are a consultant who's going to organize the fair, or are there many people involved, or is it only Sesameed that's organizing this fair?
Just Sesameed.
Just Sesameed,
Yeah,
mashallah,
it's just
that's
my
awesome.
Mount team members. We're a bunch of educators. We just do the best we can, use our common sense, and try to do the best we can.
Perfect.
So 2 years ago, we started off with Singapore. Last year, we added Bangkok. So we did Singapore and Bangkok. And this year, we add Dubai. So Singapore, Bangkok, Dubai.
And there's one more, Boston as well.
No, that's our office. But in terms of the fair,
Fairs.
yeah,
Okay.
that's just three.
Yeah, I've seen the videos. It has come out really well. And I'm confident, inshallah, that it's going to be really great in Dubai as well. Although, to be honest, I feel that in Dubai, the concept of boarding school for the young kids, because I see that it's for you, you've mentioned that it is from grade 6 for the juniors as well.
Yes, it begins as young as grade 6. Some will be even younger, but
Younger as well, younger than that?
Younger than that as well. But the junior boarding schools, mostly you see them taking students as young as grade 6. And then for the senior boarding schools as young as grade 9.
Grade 9.
And so I would say, from my limited understanding of the Middle Eastern culture, the Indian culture, this part of the world, families might not be as willing to send their children abroad at too young an age.
Yes.
So I would say, maybe in Dubai there are expatriates families who might be more open to sending them younger. So we do have some junior boarding schools attending the fairs, but we also have the mass majority will be senior boarding schools.
Because we are also expats here, and most of our kids do study here. But after a certain point, when they have to opt for university, many kids they go abroad.
Yes.
So yes, that happens. But younger ones, honestly, I'm not sure as of now if anyone has done. If yes, then let's see. If I get to know, I'll let you know about that. And yeah, even I have a teenager, like I said earlier. So she's 13, going to be 14. So I have plans for her. Maybe Germany was one of the places where we were thinking for her further studies. But then there are a few more countries that's in my mind. And I'm not sure about my husband because he's still a little old school. So he is not really happy sending our daughter so far away, come from reserved background. So yeah, maybe I'll hand it over to you so you can do your magic there.
Bring them over to the Dubai Fair on that day, on November 10th.
Yes, perfect. We are doing the right branding. November 10th, it is Dubai Fair.
Yes.
Okay. So as a founder, how do you balance your work life and Sesameed Education is growing. Now you have the fairs coming out. Every year you are doing something or the other extraordinary. How are you managing that? It's not every year. I think every 6 months, is it? Half yearly? Because you've already done 2 fairs.
Annually. So every November, we do our fairs. Yeah. So we started 2 years ago, Singapore. Last year, Singapore and Bangkok. This year, we're at Dubai.
Okay.
And I don't know if this turns out to be working, then maybe next year we add another one. I don't know what, but we'll see.
You should go to India then.
Inshallah.
I love that, Daniel. That's amazing. Yes, inshallah. It's God willing. Okay.
Yes.
So how do you manage your work life and your personal life? I heard you have kids as well. Your family is back in Singapore or Hong Kong they are? Singapore they are. So how do you manage that, Do your kids miss you?
I have to say that I am not the best in managing my work and personal life. To me,
There's
though,
someone at least admitting that.
to me, my work life is my personal life. It is hard for me to separate my work life from my personal life, in a sense, to separate the work that I do in education and separate that. And you pigeonhole that as just work, as if
You don't see it as work.
I get a paycheck out of it, or to support my family from what I make out of it. I don't see it that way. I am one of the widows that feel like I am so blessed by the Lord that every day that I'm working, I'm doing my passion. I'm doing my hobby. This is my most happy hobby in life, and I'm doing it every day.
Wow, I can sense that. So how spiritually are you connected with this? I really wanted to understand, basically, like people who are very content and happy with what they're doing are also spiritually connected to the God. So, do you have that side of yours as well?
Yes, I'm a Christian, and I see that what I do has very much to do with my spiritual mission as well. I hope that what God is doing through my work will be able to be beneficial to more and more children in this world. And that's what I hope.
Okay, that's cool. And there's one thing that's very common between us is education. So I started my journey as a teacher, and then during COVID, when I thought the world is going to end, I thought I would rather teach the children, because that was the time I quitted my job. And I thought I would teach the children and then die because even all are dying right now. So I'm going to be the next one. And that's how I started teaching children from 101 countries. I taught them for free. So phonics was the new thing that time. So one whole year, I taught the children for free because I knew that they were dropping out from school. And that's how my heart is in education. And when you say that, I'm like, hi, there's someone there who has the same kind of passion. And I've not even changed my Insta handle because I once a teacher, it's always a teacher. Now, mashallah, we have a huge team of 51 and we have a staff of 35 teachers who teach globally. So it's like from teaching, who would have imagined? And I mean, I would be sitting here known as one of a kind of an influencer in the UAE. Like the phonics teacher influencer, I'm the only one in the UAE right now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and from there we have just grown. So yeah, I can understand how education is so important because for me, I treated that as my everything. So for me also, it was very difficult to separate from my work life and what, there was no work and personal life. My work was my everything. So I can relate to what you are saying exactly and how happy you are about it. So whatever I am today is because of education.
I'm
Yes.
giving you a virtual high five.
All right, with that, we move forward with your next one. So, what sets Sesameed Education apart from other consultancies offering American boarding schools opportunities or experiences?
I would say most consultancies are like any commercial organizations, profit seeking. We have to, pay our bills, keep the lights on. But fortunately, because of my peculiar circumstances where I don't have to worry as much about P&L and all that, I would like to spend more time doing things that could be not carry as much of a profit potential, but it could be for the common good more. So, such as organizing the fairs. These fairs are not profit seeking; they are non-profit. If anything, I probably might have to put in more to sustain them. But I see that they are beneficial. They are beneficial to the overall mission of spreading the good news of boarding education around the world, at least in this region. So this would be something that I would consider a little different from what other typical consultants would do.
Understood. And the entry for the fair that's coming up on 10th of November is free?
Yes.
Totally free. So, how are you going to bear the bills then if it's going to be free?
The schools will be paying.
Ah,
It's just I charge a break-even fee for the school. So we kind of, in a sense, we all band together. Every school would put the resources together, just enough to pay for the hotel, the conference space, the basic advertising and marketing promotion fees. I do not make anything out of it.
okay. So, they're all going to come from different countries, or is it only from America? All of them are coming?
Now, this is American boarding school fair. So all of them are boarding schools which offer American curriculum. And I would say 99% are from America itself. However, we do have one or two American boarding schools that are located outside of America. One in Spain and one in Jordan.
Oh, wow. Jordan as well?
Yes, King's Academy.
Wow. Okay. So, altogether, how many schools are we expecting for the fair?
We have at least 30 plus who signed up, and they are still signing up. So
They're still.
we are expecting maybe mid 30s.
Mid 30s. Amazing. Amazing. Inshallah. Okay. With this, we move forward to the next question. So, how do boarding school ensure that students not only excel academically but also grow personally and socially? You've already touched base on that. Is there anything else you want to add on?
Boarding school life is very structured. So in the morning, you wake up, 6:30, 7, you have your breakfast, schools begin around 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then all the classes, academic classes, will finish somewhere around 2:30-ish. And then you change into your athletic clothes, and then sports will begin somewhere around 3, and finish around 5. You take a shower and then, chill out a little bit, and then dinner time around 6 to 7-ish, and then study hall from 7 to 9, and that's the day. Okay. Right? It's like 5 days. And then Saturday and Sunday, lots of different activities, be it a concert, be it school performances like musical, plays, or maybe just a good old outing to the nature nearby, whatever social events that go on. So from this kind of a glimpse of a life at a boarding school, so to speak, then you will see that, yes, we do go to classes, but going to classes are more like from 8 to 3 type of a thing. And there's so much, all the other times are filled with different sorts of activities. Athletics, music, performing arts, community service, all sorts. And you do it with your friends together.
Understood.
So with
that must
that
be fun.
environment, you would definitely be trained on a social basis as well as on a personal basis.
Okay, perfect. So, Daniel, I know why you are opting for American boarding school. That's understood and noted. But why the fair? What is the vision behind that, or what is the idea behind having these fairs, and especially now that's coming up in Dubai, inshallah?
Now, I would say boarding schools are a relatively new concept to the region. But I know that some of my British boarding school friends have already been here and are being here. But American boarding schools, they have not yet been. At least not in a critical mass.
First of a kind, then you are.
This is the first. This is the first. This is the only. This is the largest. Wow. And so for 30-something top American boarding schools to gather together in one place, we hope to be able to generate more noise, more awareness within the community so that more families would be able to come and they get to see, first of all, the best of American boarding education, but they also get to see how different they are. Not all boarding schools are created equal, so to speak.
Yeah.
They all have their own personality. And part of sometimes their personality is based upon their unique location, whether they are more or less near the city or very far away in the countryside, or whether they have a lot of land which allow a larger population size, or whether the founding fathers wanted to keep things small and cozy, whether they are lower boarding ratio versus 100% boarding ratio, whether they are co-educational or single gender. It's all different. And they are all top schools. Academically, they are all top. But the experience is so different. So it is my hope that by offering a kind of a rainbow color, like a basket of different sorts of boarding schools coming over to Dubai, we would be able to introduce this concept of boarding education, especially American boarding education, to the community and allow the families, the parents, and the students here to have a live contact with the admission officers, so that they get to see what you see is what you get. These are the ambassadors from the schools, and by speaking to them, you get a feel about the vibe of the schools as well.
Okay. So another thing, this is like something I wanted to ask, like obviously when the schools are coming and you said that they are the top schools. So if an outsider, like a person like me, who have no idea about this, sometimes we have a second thoughts, like, because there's a lot of things that happen there where you feel that, is it really authentic? So how do we cross-check that, double-check that? If a parent like me comes there and like, is it really worth enough? Or is it, are they really promising what they're going to offer? Or is it going to be something different? Sometimes you get that kind of thoughts as well. So what are you going to tell for a person who has that kind of, thought process?
First, it is the strength of the Sesameed brand and also myself. I am one of the more recognized voices in boarding education. So when I bring together the schools, I vetted the schools. I mean, I don't just bring in random schools. I know the schools well before I bring them in. So that's one. Second of all these schools have their own track record. Feel free to visit their website. You'll see what they offer. Go to the college counseling page and you'll see what type of universities that graduates would move on to. These are the best universities in America and by extension the world. In fact, if I may add, many parents would send their children to American boarding schools with the hope and anticipation that these top American boarding schools would prepare their children better and have a higher likelihood of getting into these Ivy League or top American universities. And these top American boarding schools, they do deliver on that ground. So the matriculation, college matriculation is top notch.
All right. So what are your expectations for the turnout of this event and what kind of impact you are expecting on this fair?
This is the first year, so it's hard for me to say. My humble expectation is simply awareness. I do not know how many families would eventually choose to apply, although I would greatly encourage them to consider. And if they are in doubt, I'll be more than happy as a consultant to offer my service, my advice to them as to how fitting would it be for their child to receive boarding education. Boarding education is great, all right? No doubt about that. But it doesn't mean it is the best fit or just the best match to every child's needs.
Yeah.
Some child, they might benefit more from staying with their parents a little more longer, right? And some child might have a special type of a development or training schedule that would be more fulfilled by a day school type of environment rather than a boarding school, because the boarding school is fairly structured. And so, as a consultant, I will be able to easily look into a child's life, the family situation, and be able to advise daddy and mommy whether or not boarding education or boarding schools is the right solution for the child.
Okay, awesome. So any future plans with Sesameed Education?
Yes, not necessarily future, but this is year 2 for us, and we are launching our university preparation as well.
Oh, wow.
From my years of working with boarding schools and understanding how boarding schools prepare their students for universities, I have a similar vision as how high school students should be prepared for universities. And so we're launching that curriculum. It's a course this year. So for those families who have children in grade 9 and grade 10, this will be the right time to consider that course.
Perfect. So are there any upcoming projects or initiatives? I think you've already answered. This is the upcoming one, right? The university preparations that you have said.
Yes.
So that's your upcoming project. Okay. So what advice would you give to those looking to make a difference in the education sector, especially in the context of boarding schools?
I would encourage them to teach in a boarding school because seeing is believing. I mean, right now you just hear all this talk about boarding schools and boarding education, about how wonderful they are, how impactful they are. You don't really feel it until you see it in front of you. It is real, I tell you. But sometimes, as much as I tell anyone, you just hear it. So I think the best thing is to just go there on campus for a teacher, spend a year or 2 teaching at a boarding school, and you'll be able to feel it.
Okay, inshallah. So you're supposed to, we are basically going to burst a myth. So we are going to play a game now.
Okay.
It says yes and no. So basically some of the myths related to boarding schools. If you think the myth is right, then you're going to show the yes card. If you think it's no, not right, then you're going to show the no card. That's how it goes. Okay?
And I show it to
The camera.
the camera. All right.
Okay, there we go. The first one. Boarding schools are only for troubled kids.
Oh, definite no.
No? Okay. All right. Boarding school has strict and harsh environment.
No.
Okay, that's no back to back. Now, this is interesting. Boarding school lacks family interaction.
That's not true, especially nowadays.
Okay. Social media and stuff. So, are they lenient with it when it comes to gadgets and all in the boarding schools?
There's structure to it. There's more management of devices at the younger age, such as the junior boarding schools.
Okay.
So they can have devices for like half an hour each day,
Understood.
say for example at night, for example, right? But for the senior boarding schools, students have access to the devices, and they can actually talk to daddy and mommy on a daily basis.
Okay, perfect. Unlike before. All right. The next one, boarding schools are all about academics.
No,
Big fat no. Daniel doesn't want to say yes to anything.
it's all well-rounded.
Okay, moving forward. Boarding schools are too expensive for most. You can show both if you think that.
Yeah, depends. Boarding schools are not cheap, I have to say. They can be pricey. Some boarding schools do offer financial assistance to very qualified individuals.
Okay.
So if the students is very good, they will make it work.
Okay. Next one. Boarding school limits social life.
No, it's the other way around. They encourage social life. They put social life on turbocharge.
Okay. Moving forward. Boarding schools are difficult to adjust.
Difficult
To adjust. Like the children find it difficult to adjust in the boarding schools.
to adjust, right? No, not at all. Boarding schools make it a very welcoming, a very approachable place. At the beginning, right now we're in September, right? So schools that just began their school year, they spend a couple of days doing orientation. Some of the schools, they actually take their students to go hiking and mountaineering and all that to build that team spirit, that family, type of a bonding.
Understood.
So yeah,
Okay. So this one, I think I'll get us a tiebreaker here. Boarding school fairs hosted by Sesameed Education are the best.
whoa.
Is it a no? Are you going to show your no card?
I can't claim that we are the best. We try our best. That's what I can say. We try our best.
The cards you have to show. Then it's two together.
Okay, two together.
I like that humbleness that you know not really claiming yourself to be the best, which is ideally the other people I have seen. Like when you're marketing for yourself, for your brand, you end up saying that we are the best in the market. We are so and so. I'm so glad that you are very transparent with whatever your ideologies are, putting it right across. So that's something I'm really admiring, and I have huge respects for you. And inshallah, your fair will turn out to be the great. So one, short where you can mention about the boarding school and invite our people to join.
Yes.
That is your camp.
And I sincerely invite all families in the Dubai community to come on November 10 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon to Grosvenor House in Dubai Marina to witness for yourself the group of top American boarding schools all together under one roof and see it for yourself what difference it is.
Amazing.
See you there.
I like him already. Okay, that was nice talking to you, Daniel. And inshallah, I'm going to meet you soon and your wife as well. I'm hoping to meet your bachas. You know what bachas means? Kids.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me.
So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching us. That's Chai Shai with Aisha. In case you want to get featured, please DM us on Instagram @teacher_Aisha Sheikh or @Chai Shai with Aisha. This podcast is powered by Procast Studio Dubai in association with AMG Digitech, your one-stop solution for all your printing, designing, and digital marketing needs. Thank you. Okay, I'm not going to tell you the answers, the myths as of now. I don't want you to cheat. Okay, in the meanwhile, you would like to have something?
I'm good.
So
How
good.
do you think about the conversation so far?
Amazing. I'm so inspired. I hope I don't start one now. It's too much of a boarding school.